They say the transmission fluid change is the oil change of the elite. Today, I make you members of the elite. Here's a layout of the tools you're going to be using to change your transmission fluid. You're going to need a transmission fluid dipstick, a laser thermometer, a 1/4 inch 8mm socket, 3/8 inch T30 Torx bit, 3/8 inch 5mm hex bit, 1/4 inch ratchet, 3/8 inch ratchet, a torque wrench that can go to 20 Newton meters, a transmission fluid filter kit including the filter, gasket. You're going to need an O-ring for your cap. You're going to need a cap, locks for your cap, and a washer for your transmission pan. You're going to need a funnel, and you're going to need a large capacity storage bin that can hold well over 8 quarts. I also use this for the oil change, and you can find it at any hardware store. And with all these tools, let's get started. Take your jack and locate the front jack mount and lift the car. Okay, so to get clearance for the jack, slide some wood under the tire, and you're going to want your wood to be approximately 2.5 inches high. Now you're going to want to locate the mount in front of the car. And it looks like this. And go ahead and put your jack on that mount so that you can lift the car. Now take your jack and slide it under the car and lift the car. Take your jack stand, and you're going to want it to be about 13 inches tall. Slide it under the car, and this will give you clearance in the rear to get to your differential, which I'll show you how to do next. Now coming from the rear, slide in your jack. Take your jack and place it under the differential. Then raise the car, and after that, slide your jack stands under the rubber mount located in front of the rear wheels. Then lower your car. The rear jack mount is going to be located approximately 8 inches from the front of the rear tire. This is the rear jack mount right here. Now that you have the rear successfully raised, go to the front and raise the front. And you want to have a height that's comfortable for you. I was comfortable with a height of 16 inches, but this will vary from person to person. And you can check that height to make sure that you have a uniform height all the way around the measuring tape. You can just check the height from the front and the height in the rear to make sure that it's the same. And this should give you enough clearance and an even clearance so that you can drain the transmission fluid successfully. So let's get started. Next you want to do is remove the under tray. There's 6 self-tapping screws, and you're going to want to remove all of them. They're located here, here. You have 2 on the side, and then 2 in the front. So let's go ahead and remove those. Now locate your transmission oil drain bolt here, and with the 5mm hex bit, remove your drain bolt. And make sure that you have an oil catch pan underneath your transmission pan to catch the oil. Now that we've drained our transmission fluid, put the bolt back in place and locate the 6 bolts on the side. These bolts hold the transmission pan in place, so go ahead and remove them. You're going to use your T30 Torx bit and just remove the bolts just like that. Now that we have our transmission pan on the table, it's going to be dirty, so we're going to want to clean it thoroughly with a lint-free rag. After that, we're going to want to clean the magnet, replace the drain bolt washer with a new one, remove your gasket, and replace it with the new gasket that comes in your kit, along with the washer and the filter, which I'll show you how to replace later. With all that said, let's get started. Now that we have our transmission pan removed, we're going to remove our transmission filter located here, and it just clips in, so all you're going to do is just pull it out. Just like that. And now that we have our new transmission oil filter, we're simply just going to slide it back in the slot. Just like this. Now that we've cleaned our transmission pan, we're going to mount it back to the transmission, and we're going to use our torque wrench with a T30 Torx bit, and we're going to start with the center bolts and work our way out. You want to torque down your pan bolts to 8 Newton meters and your drain bolt to 20 Newton meters. And once you're finished, we're all good to go, and we can start filling the transmission with fluid. Also, if you have a problem mounting the transmission pan because of the bracket, just simply pull this bracket back and the transmission pan will slide right in. Now we're going to locate our transmission oil fill cap, and it's going to have a lock on it. So we're going to remove this lock with some pliers and just twist the lock until it breaks off like this. And then with a pocket screwdriver, you're going to push down on the lock until you hear it click. And once it clicks, go ahead and pull it out. In order to get an estimate of how much fluid we'll need to put back in the transmission, we're going to have a new quart, we're going to have our old fluid, and we're going to have a disposable container of your choice. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do is get a marker and mark the fluid level on the new quart. Now that we've marked it, we know where to fill once we put the old fluid back in the empty quart. So now let's go put this fluid in the transmission. Now we're going to take our transmission fluid and put it into our transmission. So we're going to get our funnel, and we're just going to pour our transmission fluid into the funnel. And you're going to want to pour it in slowly, just so that it goes in nice and smooth. Now that we've put a fresh quart of transmission fluid into the car, we're going to use this empty quart as a measuring device. So we're going to take our old fluid that we've drained and put it into this bottle. So take your funnel, remove the tube, and pour the fluid into the bottle. Once you reach the black line, go ahead and put this fluid into the storage container. Repeat this process while keeping count to ensure that you get a good estimate of how much fluid to put back into the car. In order to fill the transmission fluid accurately, we're going to have the car running and we're going to bring it up to 80 degrees Celsius. In order to check the temperature, you're going to take your laser thermometer and you're going to check in 4 corners of the transmission pan and then in the center. And this will give you a pretty good reading of what your temperature is going to be. Also remember that the pan is exposed to the air outside, so the temperature will drop a little bit. So anywhere between 75 and 80 degrees Celsius will be fine. So after you get a good reading of about 80 degrees Celsius, go to the top and check your transmission fluid. So in order to check the transmission fluid, first you're going to have to start the car, and while it's running, you're going to cycle through all of the gears. So you're going to start off in park, then go to reverse, then neutral, then drive, then back to neutral, then reverse, and then park. And I like to stay in each gear for about 5 seconds or so. And after doing this, go and check your transmission fluid level, and this will ensure that you'll have an accurate reading. Now we're going to check the fluid level of our transmission. So in order to do that, we're going to have the engine running. We're going to take our transmission fluid dipstick, and we're going to stick it into our transmission tube. Just like this. And then stick it all the way down until it stops. And then take it back out. And then you're going to want the level to be between the 80 degrees Celsius high and low mark. So you're going to want it to be in the middle. And when it's in the middle, go ahead and put your cap back on. And you're all set. Before we install our transmission fill cap, we're going to make sure that we have an O-ring placed on the inside. Once we have our O-ring in place, we're going to install this cap into the transmission fill tube. Then after that, we're going to take our locking key and we're going to insert it into the transmission cap. After it's locked, this will ensure that the cap doesn't come off. Now, we're completely done with our transmission fill. Before you lower your car, the first thing you're going to want to do is lower the front. You're going to lower it back to 13 inches. So let's do that. After that, you're going to go and you're going to lower the rear completely. So let's do that. Now that we've lowered our front to 13 inches, we're going to come to the rear and we're going to lower the rear completely. And we're going to lower the rear from the differential. So now let's go to the front. Now that we've lowered the rear completely, we're going to come back to the front and we're going to lower the front completely. So we're going to remove our jack and then we're going to put our wood under the tire. And after we lower the car, then we'll just drive off the wood. So let's do that. As new members of the Elite, I thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.